Thank you very much, Bettina, for this. You've been all guinea pig today for this research, so that's very good. And we'll take advantage of that. Maybe a bit of reflection on the automation and some of the pictures we see this morning. You've seen the cockpits of helicopters, either old or brand new. What is striking compare what is today cutting-edge technology in typically smartphone or car? Nothing is coming to your mind? Put your kids in a new car, put your kids in a new helicopter. Several things I've took mine. You know, came in a Tesla, is familiar straight away. Interesting. No push button at all. That's clear. Cockpit is simple, big screen, interface, which is fairly simple, where you can guess instead of looking at the manual. In a helicopter, everybody's lost. I'm lost, personally, when I look at the number of push buttons, at the number of things on the screen, by the way, which resolution is not cutting edge compared to what you have. And that's why that at the end of the day, what are doing people, and especially general aviation, even by the way, commercial pilots, they've got their iPad. Right or not? The iPad is on the leg. And guess what? For the maps, what they are looking at, probably not the moving map on the screens, but on their legs. Much easier, interface much faster. You can zoom in, zoom out, check the points, refine your flight plannings. And nobody have ever read the manual of an iPad. Maybe the next step of helicopters, and we need to think that our kids are going to be the one flying tomorrow. If we keep the pace of moving on as of today in the cockpit interface, where we've seen the big leap every 30 years, 35 years almost, 30 years let's say, they do not understand. Put them even in a cutting-edge helicopter of today, they do not understand how it works. That's very much striking. And that's something I would like the industry to reflect on, and also on our side, EASA, because that's a change of mind. You know, how many push buttons you have, how many knobs you have in a cockpit. It's insane. How many pieces of information you have on your primary flight display. It's very hard to see. Huh? At least from a naive point of view, sometimes I have the altitude, the speed, the engine's parameter, my navigation headings and so on. By the way, what is important for you, especially for a large helicopter, it's your mode of automation, and this one is a tiny, tiny stuff on the top of the screen. And by the way, being in heading modes or in other modes, it's probably, or in speed mode, that probably save your life if you, at the end of the day. So maybe there is also here as a OEM, but also operators that may build up some real cases around future interfaces, and probably get rid of also the famous, common type rating concept, where at least, to avoid training, the cost of training, at the end of the day, we are keeping on building on very old technologies. I take also the advantage of the radio. Radio today is very difficult to hear. It's still technologies from the 50s at least. If you put your smartphone, I was discussing with one of our flight test pilots, Patrick, recently, say, you put your smartphone under your headset and you hear much better. That's the reality of the life today. So maybe we have also some areas where we could definitely get better and quicker, because we have to keep with what's going on in the other world where we are living in. And if we want people to understand the machines, to better handle it, we have to give them the same tool as in the life they are experiencing every day. That's really something I would like, in the next 5 years, maybe, to see on the table from all stakeholders. I guess it's time for lunch. Questions. And questions, sorry. Yes, we have the Slido. Sorry, I was too much. Yes, you have the Slido for the first sessions of this morning and also this afternoon. And I let the people go there.
Stabilization system will improve safety for light helicopters. Why new light helicopters are certified without it, and why isn't it mandatory for CAT?
That's a good question. I really think, indeed, that stabilization is improving safety for light helicopters. Now, obviously, certification, you can have with or without. Most of them are with, but obviously, it's a choice of the operator at the end of the day to choose to have this stability as an option sometimes. What is interesting is that maybe the purchase price is lower than the initial one, than the one with a stability augmentation system, but you need probably to think about the residual value of your helicopter. And that's maybe something operator may not see really straight ahead, but that probably would help if their business case. At the end of the day, you know, 15 years down the road, their machine is worth more than without anything, because the technology will keep up. That's one point from operator point of view that may help to get all light helicopters with stability augmentation.
And then actually the next one's kind of for us as well. I don't know whether you answer that, David. New detection systems are in development, but when TCAS or others, ADS-B, FLARM, etc., be mandatory in CAT for light helicopters?
Well, actually here, if it's only mandatory in CAT, we are missing quite a large part of the picture. That's the problem. So we can mandate for CAT, but it will not solve the issue. It's either mandatory for everybody or nice to have. What we are working on really is to, and with our colleagues in general aviation, as I mentioned during the first day, is to enable compatibility of systems. Today we have a bunch of systems that are non-certified, some of them, like FLARM, pilot awares, ADS-B, but they are not talking to each other. There are some initiatives that have been developed by the glider community, by the way. It's called Open Ground Network, OGL, and where they can rebroadcast a number of devices, all basically, to an interface in a format which is understandable from each system. So you would add up on your display not only the FLARM, if you are equipped only with FLARM, but also the pilot aware and the ADS-B data, and they can do a very good job. What we are looking at is to first test the robustness, because we need to ensure a certain robustness. We don't want to certify that, but also to promote it widely, because it could be very cheap. And we are speaking about less than 1,000 euro for being equipped, so it's really advantage. And here, all people could be really going for that. Mandating may not be the right solution. If people see the added value and at the end of the day it saves your life, 100,000 euro is worth doing it.
Fantastic, thanks. The next one, the person who wrote it specifically for Tony, but I think it's more of a general question. Tony leads the IHSF activity, but not necessarily from an operational as an operational and technical expert. But certainly from my own experience in organisations with cockpit cameras, one of the challenges certainly I've seen is how do you analyse that? You know, when you've got a whole flight's worth of obviously of camera information. You know, how do you find the right bits, and then the cultural aspect of, you know, having cameras in the cockpit as well. And from any of our operators, particularly maybe yourself, Christian, any specific thoughts on that?
I think we have to make sure that, you know, we don't isolate a pilot or you know, kind of make him look bad, because that would prohibit any kind of positive feedback. I think it would be really worthwhile to have that, but I think there should be, you know, it should be based on just culture, where a pilot is in a setting where he can learn. So I think the best way would be to first use it in a simulator, because there we are in a training environment, and we're able to provide feedback to the pilot in this kind of setting where he's able to accept that kind of feedback. And then once this becomes more common, you know, we can start to use this type of flight data, you know, cockpit cameras during regular training and checking in the companies. And, you know, then, you know, we need to enable the crew training managers and people providing the training to actually be able to analyze that. So it's this kind of larger effort where we have to make sure that everyone involved knows what they're doing, and that we're actually providing the right messages to the pilots and crew.
Thanks very much. Any thoughts from anybody else on the panel on that one? No? The next one was actually for Thomas. I don't know if Thomas is still... Thomas, maybe you can come up and perhaps address this one. So the question was, do you think helonics and cockpit EVS systems are ergonomic for HEMS and part SPO operations in VFR, which need to keep eyes out and limits readable?
Yeah, thank you, Mathieu, for the question. For a guy that just took his first flight recently, it's pretty sophisticated, I would say. Actually, yeah, there are two answers to the question, which actually yes and no. If we talk not only about helionics, but of any modern glass cockpit system, I think there comes a simple truth with it. Since they have been introduced, pilots spend more time heads down in the cockpit than they should, because those things are so nice to play with, to put it mildly, that you just do it. So in that respect, yes, they're not enhancing the safety. On the other side, if you look on modern avionics systems like helionics, they also provide a very mighty auto flight control system. Let's speak about the auto hover function for police missions, for SAR missions. So this is a very much safety enhancing feature, as an example, that will help the situation and the mission to be accomplished. So when we were analyzing our own accidents of the last 10 years, so there is a very high theoretical option that some of the hover accidents would have been avoided if that mode would have been available and properly used, as an example. So yes, I think the given functions in the new systems are really enhancing safety and can be used also for the specific helicopter missions. I would say definitely yes so. And if you advance in technology over time, if you look on the system cautions and warnings, also those, they are now really tailored and they are just displayed to the pilots, also with an oral attention getter, if there is the need determined by the system. So also those new features just emerging will actually lead to the fact that you spend less time with heads down. Now specifically to your part of the questions with the EBS, I think I displayed multiple ways how that technology can be used, and all of them come with a certain price. So the high end will be with a helmet-mounted display. So that answers directly to your heads-out question or eyes-out question. Yes, with the helmet-mounted display, which is really the top-notch, also for your money purse, you have all the information that you need in front of your eyes, and you can fly eyes out. So that is the optimum thing from a safety perspective, maybe not from a cost-driven perspective of the operator. Still, the second best solution is to have the display heads down in the cockpit. So in a DVE environment where you have to look for a way out, this is still a great mean to help you assess the way for a go-around where you can go out with respect to the terrain features. So I think in general, EVS systems, if properly used and not abused, which is an operational culture thing, will help greatly to increase safety.
Thanks very much for that. It was a really comprehensive and excellent answer. Thank you. The next one's for EASA. I'll address to David. Why not sharpen up on the certification requirements for specific operations while new safety-enhanced technologies are being developed?
Here, actually, first, it's more in the ops domain that we are requesting some enhancement. Typically, if you are operating offshore, you must have a bunch of other systems than NCO, for instance. Same for CAT operations. It is already there in the regulations. Now, it may be further pushed, but for the NCO, SPO category, we are facing the cost issue, really. And that trade-off is really difficult to find. And when we want to go a bit further, we have this boundary which is quite very stringent for the industry. Now, promoting, sometimes lowering the cost of some of the devices is one way to do it, and we will try much more with the net safety benefit concepts and with the help of the OEM to develop cheaper system in the field. It will take time, unfortunately. Not all the machine also may be compatible because the timing of the machine is quite, the average age of a machine in the field is quite high in Europe. So there is some way. It's already done. Pushing it further may be tricky for the industry at all.
So the next question says, we only talk about pilots, but nobody about the people involved in continuing awareness. Obviously, technicians need to be aware as well. And particularly when we talk about our safety promotion effort, I know this session particularly, and there's been a lot of focus on the operational side within the cockpit. But certainly as you see our safety promotion work develop, obviously we have lots of work from a regulatory and rulemaking perspective going on in terms of continuing airworthiness. But you'll start to see for next year an awful lot more work specifically addressed to the continuing airworthiness community, trying to reach out as well and share lessons in that context as well. So certainly, I don't know if anybody else in the panel has anything to add particularly on that, but Bettina, yeah.
That's a very good question. I have to apologize. Actually, I had the plan to address also human factors in maintenance and automation and training in maintenance, but given the short amount of time of 25 minutes, I canceled it. No? But I promise to improve next year.
And I think I mentioned that we have to see the human factor around the whole helicopter life cycle, which starts from designing of the helicopter and its technology, also around operating it as a pilot. And also around maintaining it. And so I think then we have something. And one idea, I'm not yet sure if it's a really good idea, is that we perhaps have think about installing a group or a special area within EASA that focuses on human factors around this whole technology development. I'm not yet sure, but this would be an idea for the future perhaps.
And so actually, we have our advisory bodies, and then below that we have these collaborative analysis groups, and we have one of those that's a human factors collaborative analysis group, and it's a discussion in that group already about, do we need something more specific looking at technology and maintenance, and so, yeah, they've got a meeting coming up soon, so there'll be developments on that fairly shortly. The next one, I guess, is probably for me. So are there any plans for EASA to implement an ASRS type tool to capture human factors near misses? The fact that they communicate reports, obviously a really great system. So obviously there are a number of work areas going on, specifically an ASRS type tool, not necessarily exactly something like that. You may be aware, or you may not, there's currently a consultation going on with Regulation 376/2014 on occurrence reporting. And actually maybe on the event web page where the presentations are, I'll look at seeing if we can add a link to that consultation so that you can provide feedback. It's certainly something the ARCOM, I know, are going to discuss at their meeting over the next couple of days after this event. There's a big part of that, which is how do we improve the reporting system? I guess in an ideal world, the reporting system covered under 376, which includes both the mandatory and that side of occurrence reporting, and then also the kind of lower level things. In an ideal world, the whole kind of reporting system covers everything in as much detail, and as well as the consultation on Regulation 376, we have another project called ECAS 2.0 that's very focused, amongst other things, on improving the reporting interface from you as organisations or individuals in the GA community to your authorities. We're very aware that the current reporting portal is, dare I say, not the most user-friendly system in the world. Probably an understatement of the conference. And there will be a new system supporting all of that really aims to do that. Alongside of that, we're also looking then at how can we promote more when people fill out reports and when people are reporting, how can we encourage people to think more about human factors, organisational factors, and these wiser system factors that particularly Bettina talked about is understanding not just what the individual did in the cockpit, but the wider system influences as well in all of that. And then obviously a key part of that is really supporting this proactive just culture and the cultural element of reporting and all of these kinds of things. And actually, given the time, we won't take any more questions, but just to kind of sum up, really what was hopefully for you a really interesting and excellent workshop. Huge thanks from my side to all of the ESPNR for all the excellent work they're doing, particularly to Michelle, who worked so hard in our office to coordinate all of this, particularly to Bernd and to Christian, the rest of the team. I know particularly Alexander Weissenbach and Matcha here in the room, and a huge thanks to the peer review for all of the work you do, to Bettina, Thomas, and everybody else who helped prepare the workshop. And what you don't see is the behind the scenes, the guys, all the teams meet regularly, people giving time in addition to their daily jobs to move forward our safety discussions. And we look at the other communities in aviation that we work with, and whether it's commercial airline operations, GA, there's lots of things going on, but there's nothing quite like ESPNR and the coordination that goes on in this rotorcraft community. It's something I think we're all hugely proud to be a part of, and the more we can do continually to support what we do. Now, one of the things from our side is now building this Together for Safety promotion brand, and it's been interesting as an engineer. I've been immersing myself in the world of marketing and branding, and how do we really do this, and it kind of follows on a little bit from what Bruce was saying, in that safety is about all of us and what we do, and this is really what Together for Safety hopes, ultimately where we want to get to, is to provide a continual resource and a source of information, so that when you have problems and challenges, things you need to solve in your day-to-day lives, whether it's understanding EASA regulations, particular safety topics, where to go for information, hopefully what our goal of what good looks like at the end of all of this process, and it won't be immediate, but we get to a place where there is this one Rotorcraft promotion portal where you get all of the information you need. We're there to serve you and support you with the work we're doing. And certainly as part of this kind of brand concept we've been building now, is how, quite often when you see safety promotion material, it's from the point of view just of the person that produced it. So what we're looking at doing as part of that perhaps is trying to give then lots of different points of view of, how does this affect the maintenance engineer, and have the real maintenance engineers help say, well, this is my view on that problem, and from the flight crew, from the designers, from the authorities, all of us working together to build this resource that serves all of us together and helps move our cultural discussions on safety to a new level, and really supports what we're trying to do at a collective level. And obviously, without that ESPNR core team driving and building that, we wouldn't have anything. So thanks very much for being here and listening to what we've had to say. And again, huge thanks to the team that organised it. Have a good lunch.